Behind the ordinary objects which surround us in our day-to-day lives lies something extraordinary. Incredible stories of ingenious solutions to problems most of us never knew existed. So what mysteries are concealed in everyday things we take for granted? Recycling, plasma TVs, fireworks, railway tracks, and ink cartridges. 5 ordinary things, 5 extraordinary stories, now revealed as we go behind the scenes, inside the machines to find out, how do they do it? You're looking at a high-tech miracle, an incredible event, so familiar to most of us, we don't give it a second thought. This is a close-up view of a computer printer cartridge delivering ink to the page. These droplets occupy a tiny space, yet printer cartridges can fire millions of them a second to form extraordinarily sharp color images. So, how do they do it? Hewlett-Packard is the world's largest computer printer manufacturer. The company plant lies just south of the US city of Portland, Oregon. 800 people work here around the clock to supply cartridges for 20 million printers worldwide. Disassembled, the cartridge looks simple enough. It's made up of 3 main components. The ink held in this reservoir, the firing chamber, and a small plate peppered with tiny nozzles. Together, as a microscope reveals, these components produce something amazing. Images and words delivered as a distinct series of tiny dots, hundreds to the square inch, many thousands to the page. To do its work, the cartridge must exercise a very precise control over one thing, a droplet of ink so small it could sit on the tip of a human hair. Computer ink is a highly engineered liquid, 80% water, 20% a blend of solvents, pigments, and a kind of liquid plastic called polymer. The balance of ingredients is crucial. Here at the Ink Lab, technician Melinda Pride checks for color bleed. It's called the egg yolk test. Put a blob of yellow ink into a dish and add a drop of black. The black should hold its shape, even when the dish is agitated. After checking for color fastness, technicians then check for color permanence with a relentless ink-killing machine which shows no emotion and knows no mercy, the Faderator. Using a battery of fluorescent lights, the Faderator subjects photographs to a lifetime's daylight. In just a matter of hours, photographs are artificially aged by up to 75 years. A computer then compares their color balance against a control chart to measure fade resistance. This batch of ink has passed the test. Ink is the cartridge's only moving part. It's pumped through tiny nozzles like these. Each cartridge has about 400 of them, set into a plate the size of a postage. Like a micro machine gun, each nozzle pumps out 36,000 droplets a second. It happens so fast, it can only be measured in microseconds.
1 microsecond is a lifetime.
They call him Mr. Bubble. His job is to boil tiny drops of water inside the cartridge firing chamber. The aim, to monitor print velocity. At 2 microseconds, the ink moves in a flash.
To give you an example of how fast these things occur, a beam of light from this flashlight, when I flash the switch on, it goes 1,000 feet in 1 microsecond. So, if I aim it out the window, 1/millionth of a second after I turn the light on, the head end of that beam of light is 1,000 feet away from us.
It's as hot as the sun. It explodes thousands of times a second, and you could just be sitting right beside it. More secrets from inside your computer printer next on How Do They Do It? You're looking at a mind-blowing cosmic event. Inside this printer cartridge, an electrical resistor fires bursts of energy so intense they're 7 times hotter than the sun. The heat vaporizes the ink and pushes it through the nozzle. But relax, the thermal reaction is impossibly brief, just 2/millionths of a second. You and your computer are safe from meltdown. At this micro scale, the slightest contamination could cause a cartridge engineer's worst nightmare: nozzle blockage. Here at the Droplet Break-Off Observation System, or DBOS, technician Jeffrey Langford reveals what a tiny speck of dust on the nozzle plate does to the ink flow. It isn't pretty. The ink gets blocked. The cartridge can't fire. And that's why the ink is made here. They call it the clean room, a place completely devoid of everyday contamination. No dust, no dirt, not even a speck of dandruff. It's one of the cleanest environments on Earth.
This is a Class 10 clean room, which means that there are 10 particles in every cubic foot of air.
Besides ink, the clean room is also where the nozzle plates and firing chambers are made. It's a high-tech micro-engineering operation. But when you're dressed like an astronaut, how do you recognize your fellow workers? Jeremy Donaldson gives us some tips.
After a couple years of walking up to someone and saying, "And you are," you start to pick up on the visual clues of the eyes and just the way someone's shaped and then how they carry themselves.
Back in the main plant, it's the end of the shift, but the cartridge faces one final hurdle. Forget the faderator. This man is a cartridge killer. His job, to get cartridges printing in the hottest, most humid environments imaginable. This is a climate-controlled test chamber. If it works here, it'll work anywhere.
We emulate different printing conditions. So this is a 35 Celsius with 20% humidity. So as an example, maybe printing in Phoenix, Arizona.
And when they're through baking the cartridges, they put them on a tower and drop them.
I drop things, and I enjoy dropping things. It's a great job.
So, next time you hit print, think for a moment about the miracle of engineering under the hood of your computer printer. And watch out for that thermal reaction. It's the closest any of us will ever get to a cosmic nuclear explosion. Thankfully. Behind the ordinary things that surround us in our daily lives are miraculous advances in engineering which we rarely get to see. ingenious solutions to problems most of us never knew existed. Since this program began, the world's factories have produced around 30,000 fireworks, assembled 4,000 plasma screen televisions, forged 10,000 tons of rail track, made 150,000 ink cartridges, and ground up 57,000 tons of metal for recycling. Even the most ordinary objects often have extraordinary stories to tell. We only have to watch and listen.